Welcome to Perfect-ish, where it's not about having perfect time management, but about perfecting your relationship with time. I'm your host, Callie Brigham, and every week we'll talk all things time and how to maximize it without burnout or guilt. Whether we're chatting with an expert or I'm sharing my 20 years of time management experience, you'll learn simple strategies to make every moment count. Here, it's all about getting close to perfect-ish. So let's synchronize our watches and dive in. I would never reveal what happens in the DMs between me and my friends. I mean, you got to have a sacred place for all the slightly inappropriate, funny, sentimental, all the things that get sent back and forth. But I am going to go ahead and reveal one thing today. A whole heck of a lot of them are reels about one certain topic. I will give you a little hint if you're listening. My friends and I are now members of the We Do Not Care Club. If you've seen that, then you know. It's a topic that I will say up until recently, I think no one talked about or wanted to talk about. And for sure, if they did, it was not in a lighthearted and trending way. And if you haven't guessed by now, let's just go ahead and spill it. It's menopause, perimenopause, hot flashes, night sweats, brain fog. Oh my. And it is great for a laugh. And it's a good thing we can laugh about it. But it is no joke if you're the one living it. And that's why I'm so excited to introduce to you two amazing women that I met at a brand builders event. Actually, they were the first people that I met walking into the building. I remember it. Twin sisters, striking, brilliant. It's Drs Nic and Nat. They are naturopathic doctors, Menopause Society certified practitioners, and the creators of the Empowered Midlife Hub, a place where women like you and me can get real answers and expert coaching and a community that actually understands what we're going through. So today they're here for the real deal talk. We're going to go there. We're going to do this thing, perimenopause, menopause, what they really mean, and how we can handle this. So Drs Nic and Nat, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us. We're pumped for this conversation. I know we started it in the elevator at Brand Builders Group, and you were like, pin in that. Let's take this to the podcast. So we're super excited to be here to talk about this.
That's exactly right. I was thinking, okay, yeah, I've had the most unusual places for conversations about this with the both of you. The first time, it was in the elevator. I'm like, oh, great. Yep, we're going to do this. And then I remember in Nashville at our second one, I think it was right outside the bathroom. I was probably going to the bathroom again. And we were having conversations there. I was like, yeah, we can't talk about this anymore without a mic between us, because if it's happening to me, it's happening to other people. And so let's just start. What in the world is happening? What is this monster in the closet? What is perimenopause? What's happening to us?
Totally. So I like to kind of explain perimenopause as a little bit of that like messy middle. It's this hormonal transition. It is a zone of hormonal chaos, and it is leading us towards menopause. And menopause is defined as like the 1 year anniversary of no period. So we're moving towards that one day, which is menopause. And then every day thereafter, you're considered postmenopause. So it's the years before. It's this turbulent time. It's when hormones are quite erratic and a little wild. They're a little wild. What women will oftentimes notice is changes in their cycles. So it's like that predictable 28-day period I always used to have is now like, oh, happened on day 23. What is that? And then, oh, we're on day 35. What is going on? So it's that cycle irregularity that we'll start to notice. And there's shifts happening to our hormones. So our progesterone is starting to decline. Our estrogen is extremely erratic. And we don't feel amazing when our hormones are swinging like that. So it's this zone of chaos, really.
Yeah, zone of chaos. It does not feel amazing in a variety of ways. It doesn't feel amazing physically. It doesn't feel amazing mentally. It doesn't feel amazing emotionally. And I think different women, just like you said, some are going to have a shorter cycle all of a sudden or a longer cycle. We experience it differently. So sometimes it's hard to pinpoint other than, well, my period's changing a little bit. So tell us some of the other signs. And I have a feeling there's the obvious ones, but maybe there's the things that we think are just, oh, I'm just exhausted because the kids are busy or my job is intense right now. But this could be a sign of something more significant. So tell us what to look for in that respect.
This is what we see all the time. I would say what drives women into our offices are generally three things. And they're not the classic hot flashes and night sweats. That's usually later in the transition. What happens first is the mood changes. Women start to feel maybe they're getting anxiety out of nowhere, their moods are starting to dip, their PMS is raging, they have like very little capacity for stress. They get irritable or angry. And this is a shift. They're like, I just don't feel like myself. And that is often one of the first things. The other thing that comes up often is changes with our sleep. And so it's very often this 3 a.m. wake up. We wake up at 3 a.m, our mind starts going and we can't go back to sleep. It's incredibly common. And we're conditioned, I think, as women to just push through, right? We have kids, we have careers, we have households to manage, we have all of these things. So it's very easy to chalk it up to stress or chalk it up to something else, when in fact your hormones are sort of potentially telling you something. And the third thing is physical changes, so like body composition changes. Women start to notice that we're gaining weight in areas we'd never gained it before. But I would say the first two are often, it's the moods and the sleep are the subtle ones that come up first.
It reminds me of, this is a really old Saturday Night Live little skit. And it was this fake commercial for a pill that you could take so you wouldn't have a period. And so it's showing like they're playing tennis in white outfits and laughing and giggling. And it's like, it's the best. And then it said, I remember the end says, but when you do get it. And then they like pull out chainsaw. These women are like chainsaw massacring people. And it's like, yeah, when it comes, I just remember thinking it was so funny. But I kind of feel like maybe that's a little bit of how dramatic you can start to feel these emotional changes. Because like you're saying, this is not who you normally were. And it's hard to control when this is so unexpected, don't you think? So those are really interesting. And yeah. The sleep one got me, you guys.
Yeah.
The sleep one got me.
And it's so easy to chalk it up to something else, right? Because a lot of times at this phase in our life, we're carrying a lot of hats, a lot of responsibilities. And so it's very easy to just go, well, it must just be stress. Well, it could be stress coupled with changing hormones. And so it's starting to play itself out in different ways.
So as doctors, you started to notice some of these things, and also I think sometimes you can be your best example too, right? As you're going through life and you're starting to realize, this is a commonality in women. This is something that I want to help support, but I need to learn some more about. How did you all start to make this your specialty? Was that organic? Was it on purpose?
I love that question. So Nat and I started practice in 2011, and we had, for the most part, mostly a women's health focused practice. We had women coming in for all sorts of different reasons. And it was in 2020, the pandemic happened, and our practices pivoted overnight. Like everyone else, they went to virtual. And we went from these fully booked practices with wait lists to now all of a sudden having these big gaps in our calendar because people thought they could just wait this out. And they would come back and see us in person when they could. Well, the weeks went on, the months went on, and the first patients that reached back out were women in their 40s and 50s. And I remember at the end of one day picking up the phone and calling Nat and saying, Nat, is it just me? Or are the women in their 40s and 50s really struggling right now? They're symptomatic, they're not sleeping, their moods are starting to take a shift. And we weren't the first clinicians they had gone to see. A lot of them had gone to their family doctors. They were being offered sleeping pills, antidepressants. And these women were seeking, like they just felt like there was a shift. And not to say that those were wrong, but that they just knew that there was something else happening. And they started to reach out. And it really started to become very apparent to the two of us that there was this massive gap in care, that this is not an area that, even as naturopathic doctors, I mean, we learn about hormones and menopause, but most of our education happened after school. And it was in that moment that I was like, this is the area that we need to focus on. These women need real answers. I need real support. And it was from 2020 onwards that we started to deepen our knowledge in this. We pursued our Menopause Society certification and have really rallied a team of clinicians around us to help support women through this phase.
I'm so grateful for women physicians like you. I may have told you all at that event that I'll never forget an appointment with a doctor. This was a few years ago, and he literally patted me on the knee, kind of like, there, and wasn't listening to what I was saying. And I think prescribed me something and sent me on my way. And I remember, I don't know if I want to say it's as strong as gaslighting, but I remember feeling very unheard. I remember feeling like it was just a Band-Aid. So this is really important that we get to the heart of what's going on. So let's start with sleep, because I know that's my hot button here. And I know, like you said, it might be traditional medicine that would say, hey, let's give you something to help you sleep, right? Let's give you a sleep aid. Let's do that. What's really happening? What's really going on? What is my body telling me? And what do you suggest? And I know that some of this we're going to have to paint with a broad brush, and that's fine. But yes, let's start with some of these symptoms so we can discuss maybe what somebody should do as their next step to really get to the actual reality of what's going on.
Yes, I love this. And it's the first thing you can do when we're trying to decipher so the big thing when we're approached with the patient and we're trying to decide, is this perimenopause, is this hormonal, is as doctors, we need to rule out other reasons for why, there might be something else going on. But if we do suspect that this is due to a hormonal shift, the first thing you can do is start tracking it. So start tracking your cycles and track your symptoms. And we oftentimes will see this predictability in the timing of the sleep issues. So in early perimenopause and throughout perimenopause, we start to see this decline in progesterone. Progesterone is this beautiful, feel good, calming, sedating like hormone. Like it just makes it improves our sleep. It's what's high in pregnancy. So when women get that glow and they feel really great, that starts to decline and we start to see shifts in our moods and our sleep. So number one would be start to track your cycles and start to track your symptoms. And that can help your clinician when you come into your appointment be like, I can see a clear pattern here. If it's happening all month long or there's no predictability, we might be looking at other things. But that was like the first easiest go-to is track it. What we typically will see is it will be right before your period. It's like those few days before my period, like I sleep great all month long. And then, it starts and it's like 2 days before my period, I don't sleep great. And then it's like, now a week before my period, I'm not sleeping great. And then it starts to progress from there. But that's like the first thing is like track and document.
You're speaking my language, you're singing my song, and I didn't even realize it. And, sometimes you need somebody to sing it back to you. I was having a conversation with my mom yesterday, and I was talking about sleep, of course. Yeah. Now let me just lay on the couch here, you guys. Let me just help me out. And she said, well, how long has this been going on? And I said, I don't know, like a while maybe. It was like, what's a while? Is a while a couple months? Is a while a year? I was like, I have no idea. And when I talk to people about time and making time for things that matter, we have no idea how to start to work on time if we don't know where you're spending your time, right? So that's what I tell people all the time. It's no fun. Nobody likes to do the tracking, but in a way, one of the things I've always said is you're a scientist, not a judge. This is just a little science experiment to start to get to the heart of it. So, all right.
Yes, I love that analogy.
That's
great. Yes. And it's hard, right? It's hard to show up for the things that we want to do if we're not sleeping. So we could have the best laid plan, but if we're not well rested, it's hard to do all the things. So it's really important to get that understand what's going on and get that back on track so that it's easier to execute all the things we want to do.
And that's, as I look at this list of 3 things, they're all interrelated, right? One is going to affect, even if the hormones or lack thereof are driving them, they're going to be affecting the other ones. And now we're a whole messy middle, what you call hormonal chaos. Yeah, we're even worse. Okay, so we talked a little bit about sleep, and I know you'll give us some other direction here too, but let's talk about the physical changes. I would definitely say that my girlfriends that we work out together, or we are active, or we're fit, this is a lot of the conversation too. Like, my pants just aren't fitting the same way, or do I have to eat perfect the rest of my life? Like, no more treats, no more, because we're just noticing just a little bit of shifting and happening. So let's talk about the weight gain and the change in our body shape. And it just stinks.
Yeah. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating for women because they'll come in and they'll say, I'm doing everything I did in my 20s and 30s and it's not working anymore. My go-to strategies that would always get me, bounce back those 5 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever, it's not working. And it's because there are some real changes that are happening in the body. So one of the first changes is that we are starting to lose estrogen. And estrogen is the hormone that tells your body to put weight in your hips and your thighs. So when girls enter puberty and enter estrogen into the body, they get hips and thighs, they get curves, right? When estrogen leaves, we lose that stimulus. So now the weight starts to go in our midsection. Women hate that aesthetically, but it also carries a greater health risk. Blood sugar, cardiovascular issues. It's not only just a vanity thing. I'm like, we need to care about this because it's carrying a different health risk. And then the second thing that happens is that at this time in life, we're also aging. And as we're aging, we're losing muscle. And muscle is our most metabolically active tissue. What that means is it burns more calories. And so we have this sort of like perfect storm of these 2 things happening at the same time. And we often have women who are potentially under fueling, who are trying to over exercise this, and we're making it all worse.
So what do we do?
Oh my goodness.
I know. I'm like, yeah. And I will say too, there was a long period of time, I would say this started prior to 2020 for me, and I was doing intermittent fasting. It was like the big thing, right? And I will say that for quite a few years, it really did work well for me. I felt lean, I felt strong. I was, eating well in my eating window, and it just seemed to work. And then all of a sudden, not only was it not, but as I started to do at least a little bit of research, I was starting to realize that is not serving me anymore at all either. So, all right. So we've got these changes. We're losing everything. Oh man. What do we do? I know we're going to get our hormones checked. But guide us through what happens to start to make us feel a little bit more like ourselves again.
Yeah, this is where we need to be in that season of building. We need to be building muscle. We need to be nourishing. We need to be fueling. And I think you said it perfectly, because I'm always taking patients, evaluating their relationship with intermittent fasting and saying, in a season of life where maybe our moods are off and our energy is low and we're feeling irritable, like sometimes that looks a lot like hangry. And sometimes when we intermittent fast for a long time, it's like, that's just like adding fuel to the fire. We also have this incredible need for protein. We have an incredible need for protein. And that narrative and story you're hearing online, it's true. And the reason it's true is because we need to feed our muscles. Our muscles are breaking down. We need to feed them. We need to feed them a lot. So sometimes when we adopt those intermittent fasting patterns, we've taken out a meal. And while that might not be inherently terrible, what we've done is we've taken out an opportunity for protein. So now we have 2 meals a day where we have to get this crazy amount of protein, which is hard to do. So we need to make sure that we're nourishing and fueling our bodies well.
Yeah. I never even thought about how the intake of protein, if you're still choosing to do the intermittent fasting, which again, and none of this conversation is saying what you have to or not have to do, right? We're not diagnosing anyone here or prescribing anything, but that also just plain makes sense. That if we're to reach this protein goal for the day, if you're doing your macros, eliminating a meal is really going to be challenging.
Super challenging. Super challenging. And I think sometimes when women really struggle with their energy, like it's amazing how good we feel when we have a good nourishing breakfast. And we just put some, I talked to a patient the other day, I'm like, we need to put gas in the tank so the machine runs well. Like we can't run on fumes all day long and expect you to flourish and feel your best. Like we need to put nourishment in. So this really needs to be about that season of nourishing and building.
All right. So I love your way of describing this as this season of building, of fueling, and you're fueling your body with your nourishment, with your protein, you're fueling your muscles. I imagine we should also be fueling our mind too. So you're working with someone's physical body, but are you also noticing that there are some things and maybe just a reset or some priorities of our mindset too?
Big time. That's like pillar number one when we're working with someone. Is
Really?
like,
Really? Okay, let's talk about that
yeah,
one.
and I think that this is so key, and I'm glad you brought this up because if you don't prioritize yourself and put yourself on the calendar or the family calendar or feel that your health is worthy of this, like none of the advice I give you matters. Like it really doesn't. I'm like, we need to be able to implement the plan and the strategy, and that is going to require a lot of work. The work we do with patients requires them to change their diet, go to bed early, set boundaries, have tough conversations. Like there's things that need to happen for you to make space for your health. So it takes work to take care of yourself. It takes work to meal plan and prep and put your exercise in your calendar. And you need to be able to feel worthy of that time, believe that you are deserving of that, and make the space in your calendar to make it happen. So like mindset is number one. It's number one.
And probably that is, like you said, that's the area that is pushed to the side the most because you're already not feeling worthy, right? All of a sudden, this body that, even if it's not perfect, you kind of knew how it operated, you were familiar with it, or your mind, now they're betraying you in a manner of speaking. So it's like two mountains to hurdle. You've got this mountain that of how women already feel naturally, but we're adding this on. So this is such an important piece. I'm glad we've circled around to this. Anything more that you want to just go there with putting your health, like you said, on your calendar, putting yourself there?
Yeah, I think I'll make it a prettier picture that like it gets to be really beautiful on the other side. Like it gets to be really good on the other side. We just need like the support. We need to reach out to a practitioner. We need to give you the tools so that you can feel really well. And I think a lot of the narrative online or even in friend groups is like, oh my gosh, we're all in the kind of like commiserating together. And I think with the right support, it doesn't have to be that way. The symptoms are real. What women are going through is real. But I'm going to tell you to reach out for support so that you get to like get over that little hurdle and like thrive. Like this is a really exciting time for a lot of women in their, 40s and 50s. We got like kids who are a little bit older. We have a little more space. We're at the top of our career. We have a new sense of who we are. We have this new confidence, this boldness. Like it gets to be really good. It can be really good. It also doesn't have to be complicated. Yes, that's the other thing. It doesn't have to be complicated. I think sometimes we get so many messages online about what we need to do and not do, and it really comes down to some really simple basics. It's consistency.
Okay, let's say what those are. Yeah, let's say what those are, because it can get, again, those reels are like, all you have to do is eat 2,000 grams of protein and walk 50,000 steps and then make sure you're doing the laundry. And simplify this for us. You started with consistency.
It gets to be pretty easy. Like we need to make sure that we are eating enough protein. We need to fuel our bodies properly. We need to make sure we have enough fiber. So like that's the diet piece, right? Is we need to just get the diet in the right place. And we need to move our bodies well. And so we tend to, and the online space does this a lot, throws us all in one bucket. Like these women just need to do, strength training only, and cardio is the enemy. And then it's like, don't do high intensity cardio. That's bad for you. Only walk. We need to do a variety. Health exists when we do a variety of all of the above. So slow state cardio, high intensity cardio, and strength training are all important components of an exercise plan. We need to sleep well. So we need to make sure that we're prioritizing our rest and our recovery, and also remembering that rest and recovery is productive, right? We sometimes live in a go, go, go world where we don't give ourselves permission to rest. And so recognizing how important that is. We need to manage our stress. And so boundaries, like Nat talked about, are really important in this time. Getting really clear on our priorities, right? How are we spending our time? Who are we spending it with? What are we giving energy and weight to? We have choices here. We get to make these decisions for ourselves. So that's it. I don't know if I missed anything. No, I feel like that's like the basics. And I think we like to overcomplicate health and tell you need to take all these big flashy vitamins and all these big flashy things. And it's like, it's those foundations. It's those basic habits that will carry you through. And
you also alluded to that this could be our best season, because we can and should make these decisions well for ourselves now. We're not in our early 20s. We don't have to be a people pleaser anymore. We don't have to wear ourselves out and wear that busy badge and have that, we burn the candle at both ends kind of pride that we sometimes had worn earlier. We can be the woman who says no to this and yes to this and prioritizes this. I was at my daughter's volleyball game the other day, and I was telling somebody all the things that I'm doing. And she said, one of the moms said, "You must not get any sleep." And I said, "Oh, no. No, that is the one thing." I mean, I am turning into a granny now, y'all. I'm like counting back the hour. Okay, if I wake up at this time, okay, what's 8 hours before? Okay, then I'm setting my tone for the night. And I know I might seem like the kind of person, and I'm still waking up in the middle of the night, so we're working on that. But I am at least going to bed when I should, because you're right. It is, well, we're worthy of sleep and rest.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Okay, so we are acknowledging that, we can make a lot of jokes about it. And I think it's fine. I think it's good. Don't you think it's great that people are talking about it?
Oh, finally. So good. Finally. It's so good. It's so needed. It's so great. I feel like we, used to educate women about, or young girls about puberty. And then we talk about pregnancy, and we talk about labor and delivery. And somewhere we got really silenced on the end of our reproductive life. So it is amazing that we are having these conversations. And I think that is empowering women in a really beautiful way to enter their doctor's office with confidence and ask the right questions and advocate for themselves and get the support that they need, which is amazing. I love it.
I know, 100%. I'm like this. I'm all for it. And even if it does take the funny side of things, that's great, because it's getting us talking about it and it's less taboo and it's reality. So let's say that I'm listening and I am starting to think, yeah, I've got a few of those. I always thought that maybe the later stages of this were what I needed to look for, but I'm not having the hot flashes yet. I'm not having those things, but I am having the other. It's time for me to go have somebody listen to me and give me some advice. And I know one of the things that we might hear are hormones, hormone therapy. And that also can be a little complicated for those of us that have not studied like you.
Yeah.
Tell us your take. What's the deal there?
Well, there have been decades of confusion and fear around hormone therapy. In 2002, there was the biggest study that came out on hormone therapy, and we scared every woman off of their hormones. Hormones in 2025 are done very differently. We are using bioidentical or body identical compounds, which basically means the same kind you were making. So estradiol and progesterone, which is what your body was making, is what we give today. In 2002, we were using synthetic hormones. What we know after teasing apart all that data is that we were using it in the wrong women at the wrong time in the wrong form. And so in 2025, you have a couple of options in terms of how to access hormone therapy. I think hormone therapy can be a really beautiful tool for some women. It allows us to, in the right person, the right candidate, allows us to feel better, which then allows us to show up, right? The basics aren't easy. The habits aren't always easy. But if we're not sleeping and our moods are awful and we're having hot flashes that are keeping us up all night, like we've just added an extra layer of making this more challenging for ourselves. And so there's a couple of types of hormone therapy that I think women should know about. There is whole body hormone therapy, which is HRT or menopause hormone therapy, we call it. And this is where we're giving estrogen, usually alongside progesterone, and it's topical estrogen. So it's either a gel or a patch. You may have friends who have done this. And if a woman has a uterus, we then give progesterone at bedtime. And that is giving your body back the hormones that it didn't have. And that can really help with a lot of the symptoms. Some women are not candidates for that. And so it's really good to have a conversation around this, but it's generally fairly safe. And most women are candidates if they are the right age and at the right stage. And then there's also vaginal estrogen, which gets not enough attention.
Totally.
And almost every woman is a candidate for it if they are postmenopausal or menopausal, even perimenopausal. And it is having a very local action on the vaginal tissues and vaginal changes. And so it helps a lot with pain with intercourse, dryness, irritability, irritation, even just like exercising. Women will say that they get irritated. Getting frequent urinary tract infections can be prevented with this. So those are sort of the two types of hormone therapy: systemic, whole body, and then local vaginal. And there's different ways that the vaginal stuff can be applied. And then there's other medications, if these aren't options, that can help with symptoms. There are supplements that can help. There's the diet and exercise and habit side that Nat and I get so passionate about. But I think hormone therapy in today's day and age it's something that I feel like women deserve to have a conversation about. My job, and I always say our role as clinicians, is to sit across the table from somebody and present you with all of your options, explain to you the risks and benefits for you as an individual, and so that you can leave that conversation feeling really informed and empowered to make the right decision for yourself.
Well, and I think empowered is really where we're going for here today, because when you don't feel like you have choices, you don't feel like you have hope, and you don't feel like there's ever going to be a change, but to have somebody who says, here are some different options. And is the reality that it takes some trial and error too? Like, is this going to get fixed right away, or is this going to be a little bit of a journey?
It can be a bit of a journey. I always tell patients, this is not a set it and forget it prescription. We are going to start it and we are going to adjust it based on how you feel. We're also going to adjust it based on where you're at in your journey. When I'm putting someone on it in perimenopause and they're making some of their own hormones still, probably going to start with lower doses, versus when they're postmenopausal, they may need higher doses to help manage their symptoms. And so we're adjusting them as we need to. We're adjusting them based on how women feel. Some women will start with a patch and then decide that they hate the patch and they'd rather use a gel, and we'll make that switch. But it's also, this comes up a lot in clinic, is women will talk to their friends and they'll say, well, this person's on 2 pumps of this and I'm only on 1 pump. Should I raise my dose? Because it's being absorbed through the skin, somebody's 2 pumps might be another person's 1 pump. And so there can be some variability in terms of absorption. And so the right dose for you is where you feel good. It's not based on what your friend's doing or this, it's really just getting it right so that you feel well.
So there's kind of 2 stages of advocating for yourself. And the first is just initially saying, hey, I think I need some support. I think I need an expert here. I think I need somebody who knows what they're talking about. And the second is to say that along the path of this, that it's okay to make changes. It's okay to say, well, I'm still not quite where I want to be. And that is what really your clinician really should be paying attention to and listening to, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's really just matching where you're at and doing our best. Like Nat said earlier, it's not wrong what's happening. Hormones are changing, they're fluctuating, your symptoms are real, but you don't have to suffer through them. And so with the right support, with hormones, with the right diet, exercise, lifestyle changes, we can really help women feel really well through this time.
Well, and I was going to say earlier, it felt like a really powerful spoiler alert that, well, I'll just give you an example. A friend of mine wrote a book and it's called The Midlife Battle Cry. And it's basically about you're not put out to pasture. Your best is not, in your past, that you are smarter than ever. You are, wiser than ever. You have a better vision than ever. So I love that we're saying, hey, just with a few tweaks here, yeah, this can be your best season. So without betraying any of your clients or HIPAA or anything like that, have you seen some success stories? What can you tell us about giving us hope for where if somebody's just in the trenches and the messiness, that there's hope for them?
Yeah, totally. I feel like we are, witness to that often in our practice, which is such a gift and such a privilege that we get to see that. And yeah, it's using these tools. And sometimes hormones can be like that light switch for a patient. And you're like, okay, we finally got you sleeping. We've managed some of this stuff. And now we get to step you into the diet and the exercise and what I call the fun stuff. I'm like, we get to set you up for your longevity plan, which is really, really exciting. And we get you lifting heavy and feeling strong and feeling confident and setting those boundaries and doing all those fun things. So yes, I mean, I think we see it often in our work, which is amazing. And yeah, well, we have the confidence to say, like, with the right support, this can be your best decade. Like, it gets to be really good.
Yeah. And I think too that where the way that you phrase it and the way that you project it of the fun stuff being taking great care of your body so that you feel amazing. I mean, this could potentially be the best that you have felt in your life if we take that first step, right?
Totally. Absolutely. Totally. Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of first steps, I know we've danced around it, we've been talking about it, but if I've got someone listening and they're ready to do that, where do they go first? Who do they look for? What resources do you have personally? Because I want everybody to know you because you're so great. So where do they begin? Because we could have this is a 1.0 conversation. We could have a 2.0 conversation later, but this is the 1.0. This is the entry point. Where do they begin? And as I'm listening to, I'm thinking the earlier you begin, probably the better, right?
Totally. Totally.
Okay.
I mean,
All
it's
right.
never
Where
too
do we
late.
start?
I always tell patients that it's never too late. We can change your health at any point, but certainly the earlier the better. The more we can be informed, the better. We have our Hormones in Your 40s guide, which is an amazing guide and resource to walk you through some of the habits and walk you through a little bit of the diet stuff, a little bit of the things we should be thinking about from a sleep and exercise perspective. And then I would encourage your listeners to go to the Menopause Society website. And you can go on there and there's a list of clinicians who are certified with the Menopause Society. So then you're engaging with a practitioner who's done extra training and certification in perimenopause and menopause. We're fortunate to work alongside 8 in our clinical practice, which is amazing. But it's a really great database, both in Canada and the US, and I think worldwide on there. But it'll be a great starting point to go and find out who is actually trained in perimenopause and menopause.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to put that in the show notes so that everyone can go get your guide and they can feel connected to some of the things that we talked about today. Is there any other message that you want to share? Because I know your hearts are there. I could sense it from the beginning. And to know that somebody is listening, someone has the experience, you're all the things. You're not crazy. There's nothing wrong with you. What other message that maybe we haven't said or you just want to emphasize today to somebody listening?
Yeah, I'm going to encourage you to actually take the first step and take action towards getting the help you need. Because it's one thing to hear this conversation and it's one thing to listen to it. It's quite another to take action on it. And that can feel really daunting when you're not feeling good. But that might look like looking at that database, calling a clinician, and just starting there.
And probably just having the reality check, like you said, that this sleep situation is not going to get better on its own, or the way my body is changing, I can't run my way out of it, walk my way out of it, starve my way out of it. It's time just to do something about it.
Totally. I would say nothing changes if nothing changes. And so it's time just to take that step, try something different, but do it with the advice of trusted professionals, or do it with the advice where it's going to work. Somebody's done it for you before.
I heard a quote the other day that you're never going to feel ready because ready isn't a feeling, ready is a decision. So wouldn't it be awesome if today's the day that we just have scores of women who say, I'm deciding today, I'm ready to make a change.
I would love that. That would be amazing.
All because of you. And they don't even have to have a conversation with you in the elevator or by the bathroom.
Although I love those. Those are my favorite, actually.
Yeah, and I'm sure everyone's kind of like me. At first, they kind of like slide up to you. They're like, so there's this one thing. Yeah. You just smile and you're like, yeah, I got you. Well, this has been such an invaluable conversation. There is hope. There are answers. They're plentiful. They are there for you. Times have changed. This is not your grandma's menopause or perimenopause. This is for the modern woman who has so much more ahead of her and so much more to give. And I want to give you an appreciation, the pretend little gift that I give to all my guests that are on. And this is all about Nic Nat. This is all about making time for what matters, right? And prioritizing that. And so I want to know if you had a bonus hour, an extra 60 minutes that you didn't have to account to anyone for, what would you do with your extra hour?
Ooh, I would take my little girls to the beach. We do this a lot on the weekend, and it is like my happy place. So I would take them there in that extra hour every day if I could. It is. And then I'd probably have to move out of Toronto, Canada to somewhere where I have a beach. Like on the regular in the winter, girl. That's fair, but at least in the season, that's what I would do.
I was going to offer up Pensacola Beach where I live. Right? Have you been here? Have you been down here to this part of Florida?
I haven't been to that part of Florida, no, but I've been to multiple places in Florida.
White sand, green water, dolphins. I mean,
heaven.
I'm just offering up. Yeah, I'm offering up bonus hour time. Yeah, down here. Okay, what about you? What would you say?
For me, it would be slowing down in my kitchen, spending time making a nice slow meal. I feel like I'm in the season of career and busy kids and having to run here and run there and always feeling pressured to get food on the table and trying to make good food. I would just love to slow that whole process down.
I remember Sunday late afternoons before kids, and my husband and I would get a new recipe. Oh man, I tell you what, that sounds really great. What would you make? What would be your?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know what I would make. Something that's elaborate and takes time.
Yes.
Picky eaters. I know picky eaters. Yeah.
That actually sounds wonderful. I've not had anyone say that one yet, and that sounds delightful. Okay, those times are coming because we're going to have the energy for it. We're going to have the capacity for it. We can kick everybody out of our house if we want to because we have boundaries as well. So great. Well, one last time, tell everyone where to find you, how to connect with you, any last words that you might have.
Yeah, Instagram's our favorite place to hang out. You can go find us at Dr. Nic and Nat and our website, drnicandnat.com. It's a great place.
Awesome. I'm going to put all this in the show notes for everybody, and I want all of you to follow them. I've been following you all too, and just great little nuggets, lots of encouragement. And at the end of the day, whether it is a funny reel that we send to each other or something a little bit more serious, this is important. This is something that we all experience, and we want to have the support there too. So clearly, this was a valuable, like I said, conversation. And we're not just surviving through things. This is not to be cliche, but it is thriving to go into our best season of life. And so I know that all of you love the wisdom. Hey, DM this to a friend if you want to. Send them something funny, the We Do Not Care Club, and then send them, but we do care about this. So Drs. Nic and Nat, you all are amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today, you guys. And thanks for listening. God bless. Thanks for tuning in to the Perfect-ish Time Management Podcast. Let's keep the fun going. Follow me on social and join our Facebook community. And if you're ready for some one-on-one time management coaching to reach the top of your game without burnout or guilt, I'd love to chat. Book a free interest call using the link in the show notes or send me a DM. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a 5-star review and share it with a friend who's ready to master their time too. Remember, we're in this together, making real progress towards becoming perfect-ish.